Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they never stopped to ask if they should. 1993, Jurassic Park changed cinema forever, but beneath the grand spectacle lies a chilling warning about the cost of the human ego. Today, we are going to be looking at bad theology in Jurassic Park. We're going to look past the John Williams score, the Steven Spielberg directing, the T-Rexes that were rampaging across the park. We're going to look at the morality of what it takes to create something and what happens when we play God. Does it blind us from our humanity, or does it help us appreciate nature in an entirely different way? We're going to find out with Leah Robinson and myself, Ryan Doze. We're going to look into Jurassic Park and the God complex. So, Leah, can you tell people a little bit about yourself, what work you find yourself doing? And I'm very excited to hear what your first experience of watching Jurassic Park was.
Yes. So I am the Reverend Dr. Leah Robinson. I am a theologian, a professor. I teach theology at Mercer University. I am a lover of horror. And Jurassic Park wanted us. It would be cool to say it was my first horror film that I saw in the theater, but I actually saw the math isn't mathing, as the kids say here. So, but I saw Silence of the Lambs with my mom in the theater. So it must have been like a reboot or
Your
like
mom is a real
something.
one from all the stories we've shared.
My mom's a G. Like, she truly is. And so I remember that what's the date on Jurassic Park? I feel like I snuck into this one.
June of 1993.
Yeah, okay, yes, I sure did. Because your old lady would have been 11 at the time. But I definitely saw it in the theater. I think I saw it with my parents because at the time they didn't really market it as like it was a dinosaur movie. You know,
right.
Like it was, you're going to get to see dinosaurs. So my parents,
it's a Steven Spielberg creature feature.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like for the first half, my parents bought me a ticket for the first half and then they were like, she's emotionally damaged by the second. But I definitely saw it in the theaters with my parents. And they would have had to have bought that ticket because I sure wasn't.
Do you remember any first impressions of seeing it that young?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I remember the thing that shoots out. I don't know the name of the dinosaur, but there's
the Dilophosaurus. Yep.
There you go. And it has a neck thing that shoots out. I screamed out loud in the theater. Because I was like, because if you remember, he's just sort of like, oh, you seem nice. And I was like, it does seem kind of nice. It's like a little dog. Oh, my God.
My God.
And I just screamed. So that is the first impression. Like, everyone's
That's
like,
incredible.
do you remember the time when you saw like the Tyrannosaurus Rex and all this? And I'm like, no, I remember the time that BS dinosaur shot its neck out and almost caused me to go to cardiac arrest. I remember that. I remember
as an 11-year-old
lounging on something and with his buttons unbuttoned, and I was like, am I having a sexual awakening here? Like, I don't know what's happening. So
I know you would not have been the first that would have asked that question of themselves.
I was a young person, but then I saw later that it was a whole group of people that were just like, that was a thing. And I was like, oh, good. And it transcended gender and sexuality. He was an every man.
I'm similarly, Jeff Goldblum's great in that movie, but Laura Dern in the paleontologist outfit, it somehow it works. It never doesn't work. And Laura Dern is still awesome to this day. I experienced Jurassic Park for the first time a little bit unintentionally, because I was not even 3 years old when this movie came out. So a few years later,
humble brag.
my brothers, who were both in high school, they had either rented this. I don't think they bought it because I don't think my mom would have let them buy it, but they rented it or borrowed it, and they were watching it in the basement. And I was probably 6 or 7 at the time, and I was told not to go down and watch it. Well, I heard dinosaur movie, and in my mind, dinosaur movies meant Land Before Time. So I was like,
Yep.
I love Land Before Time. And I
Well,
go down there and I'm like, I mean, yeah, an emotionally gut busting movie. But I remember sneaking down, and we were in one of those basements where like I could sneak down the steps and kind of like peek in the corner between the floorboards and the stairs, and I watched the scene where the guy gets eaten off the toilet by the T-Rex, and it
oh yeah,
terrified me. Terrified
that'd be
me.
in that.
It was
That's
I remember that being the first time that a movie scared me. And I know now looking back, I'm just like, oh man, like I could watch Jurassic Park and never be scared again. Like it, now as an adult. But I remember Jurassic Park being the first movie that I legitimately had nightmares about, and being like afraid to go to the bathroom because the guy had gotten eaten off the toilet. Needless to say, my brother's gotten a little bit of trouble because they were like, you let him watch Jurassic Park? I'm like, he snuck down here. We didn't let him do anything. But
well,
yeah,
really
that was
did the marketing, because I was like, when you see, I haven't seen the trailer from maybe ever. Well, probably by then. But like, I bet it's just like and then just like there's the whole thing, and like here are all the dinosaurs. I bet they don't show you kids getting like screaming
attacked.
in a upside down car because there's a T-Rex attacking them. I'm pretty
Right.
sure that didn't make it in the trailer. So I'm gonna say Mr. Spielberg had quite a marketing perspective for this film when he did it.
I mean, he had done his fair share of successful films at that point, which brings us to like going into a few details about the movie, and then I will give you guys a synopsis of Jurassic Park, and we're gonna pick Leah's brain about a little bit of the theology of this movie, why the God complex, the hubris of human innovation is such a prevalent theme, not just in the original film, but throughout the franchise. It is the haunting ghost that is in every single area of this franchise. That first movie came out, like we had said, June of 1993. It's directed by Steven Spielberg. Jaws, Poltergeist, Indiana Jones, like produced and directed so much of the 80s. Like, I think he's probably the king of the 80s, Leah, in terms of movies.
Oh yeah,
especially big blockbusters. I mean,
yeah,
he created the blockbuster. It is based on a 1990 novel called Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton, who went on to, again, another prolific sci-fi horror adjacent creator who went on to do so many different things beyond even Jurassic Park. This movie features a all-star cast of Sam Neill, Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, Samuel L. Jackson, Wayne Knight, B.D. Wong, and someone we're going to talk a lot about, Richard Attenborough, and his character of Hammond. Here is the synopsis for Jurassic Park, the 1993 film. It follows paleontologist Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler, along with mathematician Ian Malcolm, who are invited by billionaire John Hammond to tour his new island theme park filled with cloned recreations of dinosaurs. Chaos erupts when a tropical storm and corporate sabotage disable the park's safety systems, releasing the dinosaurs and forcing the guests to survive a deadly man-made nightmare. Now, Leah, there's a lot, like a lot of the films
that they learned from that and that they didn't do it again.
Yeah, exactly. Like anytime bringing an animal back from extinction gets brought up in real science news, I'm like, there's a whole franchise of movies about why this is a terrible idea. Go watch Jurassic Park. There are a lot of different lenses we could look at Jurassic Park through. That is something we could say about a lot of different movies just you and I have discussed, with Alien, Halloween, The Thing, all those different movies. The theme I wanted to approach this discussion with Jurassic Park is the God complex and why that is so prevalent in humanity, in modernity right now. And we really can't have that discussion without Hammond. Hammond is the reason we have that approach to this film. So in the famous lunch scene, Hammond says he wants to show people something real. So he created all of these dinosaurs. He defeated death in a sense. He defeated the natural line of things. In 2026, this desire to play God, the fear of limits, is it a form of bad theology to want to try to outrun morality, the natural death of things? I know that's starting off on a big heavy hitter of a thought, but there is so much bad theology in Jurassic Park. There's so much.
So much. I mean, I think too, and a lot of people would argue that, I mean, we weren't around with the dinosaurs unless you were that.
Whose account are we going with?
Like, all right. I went to a creation museum that's in Tennessee with a friend, and
Ugh.
so that guy thinks that it's possible, but let's say the
been
rest
to the same museum.
right. The rest of us maybe not so much.
Yeah.
We can't speak to that, but I think a lot of folks would say like a lot of the extinct animals, it wasn't a natural progression. It was, human interaction and stuff like that. So, I mean, I think that is one of the reasons that they think that. I remember that I think they brought back wolves or something recently, some sort of wolf
Some kind
situation.
of, yeah, like a large wolf. And it's like, hey, no, don't do that.
Well, and I think even with human interference, it's like the world has now adapted to the non-existence of these animals. So you're essentially saying we're just going to mess with this whole line of evolution because we think it's
Yeah.
sad that these big dogs don't exist anymore. Anyway, I do think within the context of the film, there is, I mean, and Hammond, you're right, is at the center of this. And you see all of the scientists. They're like, this is like at first they're amazed. But even before the shiz hits the fan, is that, they are concerned.
Yeah.
They are talking to each other like, this is impressive and I've never seen anything like it. But what have you done? Like you have taken something that not only didn't fit in the world for whatever reason, be it meteor, be it whatever, they're gone. And now our whole world has evolved beyond that. And you're reintroducing them back as though that evolutionary cycle doesn't even matter anymore. And
Yeah.
you're doing it because why? You want people to see something they haven't seen. Maybe there's a reason they haven't seen it. I'll never see a dodo bird and I'm sad about it, I guess. But like, I've accepted that that's the way the world works. There was out at Glasgow when I worked there, we shared the building with the science folk and the pure science folk. And we would have these little battles. And I think I maybe told you, but we would have these things. It was like science can tell you how to create a dinosaur. And then we had a humanities one that said humanities can tell you why that's maybe not a good idea.
That's perfect.
Yeah. And I think that's it, is that they're letting their science brain and their humanities brains kind of battle in the beginning, at least.
It really is it's the quote that Malcolm says in that scene of like, you were so preoccupied about if you could do it that you never questioned the reason why you wanted to do it. Even Sattler, Laura Dern's character, says, we're sitting around, and she's a paleobiologist, I believe, in the film. She looks around at all the plant life and she's like, there's plants around here that like they have not existed. So they don't even know in what world, in what context they're growing. You have animals that are running around this island who do not know where they are. And they're trying to figure out where they are in the chain again. And there's no way that's not going to have massive repercussions. The underlying theme of Hammond playing God. Leah, why is that an inherently, let's just be generous, I guess, say, why is that an inherently harmful theological presupposition? That I can do this, I should do this, now people get to benefit from it, namely my checkbook. But like playing God is inherently harmful. Why?
I think a good theme for that, or a good symbol for that, is the fence. And he puts this fence, Hammond puts the fence around these dinosaurs and hilariously thinks the fence is going to keep them in because sure, that works usually. Fence is keeping things all the time. My dog loves a good, looks at a fence and says, challenge accepted, Mom. I'm out. So I love, they thought these giant dinosaurs were, anyway. But that's, I think, a good symbol theologically, is this idea that human beings, at least in the books that I've written, but also in the theology that I've studied, have constantly tried to put something that is inherently, and I don't care who you are, I don't care if you, like, I don't even think Jesus knew the complete at least was able to express the completeness that is God. And that is maybe a controversial saying because Jesus was God, but we can, at least in the words that we got, we don't get the full picture. Right.
Yeah.
Uh, if he did know, he was keeping some cards close to his chest, which is fine. Um, but I think we're forever in that way grappling to create this God through the things that we know, through the words of the text, through life, through things that happen. But the problem is that we're just putting a fence around this thing that shouldn't be fenced in. And we're doing it because we want to create something so that other people can see and that other people can understand. And I think that's one of the things that Hammond wants. Hammond wants people, for sure, and to make money. If you're like, one of those people who make money from theology, let me know how you're doing it. But I think he also has this desire for people to understand what it's like to actually see a dinosaur. And I really do feel that if theology in its purest form is people wanting you to be able to see the picture of God and to understand what God is like, especially in relation to how your life is going or things that are happening in the world. But that inherently isn't, when you don't see it as being a limited version, you see it as being a holistic version with no flaws, then you've essentially created a theme park for God. And you're just asking people to pay to play to get this little window into what God is. And I think Hammond thinks he's done this perfect thing. And some of the most egotistical theologians that you'll see will be like, here, I have it. Here is this complete picture. No notes. Here you go.
Yeah. I figured out God.
But it's a little tiny piece with a little fence around it, and they're like, you can go play.
And I think the incompleteness there, the caging of creation, the creator Hammond still needing that bit of separation between his creation because he doesn't have all control over them. He doesn't even have all control over their creation process because when they go into the genetic code of the dino DNA they have to splice it together with frog DNA, with other different types of modern animals that they do know. So this creation that they have is not even wholly itself. It's a malformed theme park attraction version of the true thing. So there's an inherent falsehood in it from its, onset. And for Hammond to play God in this scenario is ridiculous.
Well, and to present it as a full picture and to say, this is what dinosaurs look like. Well, no, that's not what dinosaurs look like because it's the way dinosaurs look like in your version of it. And if that's not theological, I don't know what is. This is what God looks like in your version of it. Your frog DNA, your frog DNA is a lot like your social contacts. Like you are creating something that's based on the world that either you have lived or you want to live.
That is infinitely better than anything I thought.
I haven't always thought a lot about some things, but I've thought a lot about this, and it kind of pisses me off.
As it should. Man, what is the frog DNA that you put into your creation of God? God, that's really good. Kind of teasing this out and taking it further, that the park, the fences, they're built on this like idea that we can cage nature. We code the fences. It keeps us safe. But then when the safety measures of the park fail, true nature, or at least the dinosaurs' understanding of their current surroundings, it comes out. And Hammond thinks that he can master the chaos by just turning it back on. It's like, no, you let the cat way out the bag, dude. Like you opened up a Pandora's box that is limitless. In your work, because you dissect systems in your Bad Theology series of books, and how does this need for total control of a system break down theologically when playing God is wielded, like Ian Malcolm says, like a kid finding his dad's gun?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's never going to end well when someone starts talking about having total control of anything. I mean, we see this in Jurassic Park. Like, you think you have total control over these animals because you put a fence around them and you have all this technology, and it's, all of this stuff is in order, and you've dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, and so you've got it you've got it sorted. And they, of course, really, they haven't even opened the park, and it gets screwed up real quick. And people die left, right, and center. And I think with theology, what you see is that, these people who think that they do have it figured out and that they need to, you're right, it's controlling the system. They want to control the system, being the understanding of God. What you didn't take into consideration was God. And I think that's something that you see in the movie, is that what Hammond doesn't take into consideration is the dinosaurs. You've created this theme park, you've
Yeah.
created this world, you've created this system, you've created all of this stuff. Think megachurch, think hymnals, think, baptismal font, think lights and righteous gemstones, all that stuff. And what you didn't take into account was that this is not God. And
Yeah.
what if your preacher gets on the stage and he or she drops dead from a heart attack? It doesn't matter how big your lights are. It doesn't matter how fancy your smoke machine is. This person, and you had no control over it. So it's this idea of controlling something that cannot be controlled. In the sense of Jurassic Park, it was a complex, so we can control these things. And people find comfort in that. We go to zoos all the time, and we will put our face right up against this fence that is a plastic fence. And we trust that that lion is not going to go right through it. And because that's the way it works. And we don't take into consideration that animals break free all the time in zoos, all the time. And that God can't be contained in a church.
Or even by a specific ideology. Like, I think the specific ideology that's the fence, that's the glass, that's the thing that makes you feel the most safest about a very dangerous unknown element. Because I literally just thought about this last year. My wife and I took the kids to one of our favorite zoos for my son's birthday, and he hung out near a grizzly bear for about a half hour. I'm just like, never once standing there did it occur to me, if this 3 inches of safety glass is not here, my entire disposition and posture towards this element is totally different. And that's why I find Hammond so fascinating in Jurassic Park, because he believes that he has caged, controlled, like you said, he has sanitized this version of this powerful prehistoric thing. Actually, dude, what you've done is you've created a science experiment of a fabrication of that thing, and you can't even control that. And Malcolm makes it very clear, life will find a way. No matter what you do to them. And I know that's kind of like one of the joke lines, but he is a chaos mathematician. His job is to factor in all the different ways it could go wrong, and Hammond ignores him at every single turn because he doesn't want to be told that what he's doing is wrong,
or that he's not in control as well. And I think that is a hubris on another level. Is, here's the deal that I will tell you as a theologian: the world will still spin, as far as we know. And there will still be there will be babies born, and there'll be babies that die. And there will be no rhyme or reason to some things, either of those things really. And diseases will exist, and people will get married, and there will be celebrations, and there will be funerals, and each day will continue, and that's what's going to happen. And you have no control over it. Those things happening. And a lot of times theologically, some of our friends, especially in the worlds that we operate in, are going to try to figure out a way to explain that and to say, well, this is, we'll figure it out. And they're Hammond, at least I say in my bad theology book, I'm like, look, I don't know crap. I don't know anything about the ultimate reality of God, if God exists. I don't know. I'm going to give it a go. But the people who say, this is the way, are essentially reproducing Jurassic Park, God Park. Theology part.
Yeah. God Park. God Park.
God
I,
Park.
I,
That's what we need to call. That's what we need to call bear camp now. Is God Park.
God Park. Maybe we can discuss with Trip, try to get a Jurassic Park theme. I love
That's not a bad
love
idea.
the I mean, it's not a terrible idea. The quantifying it as this thing where you're like your certainty, like Hammond, of hey, the lawyer is here and the lawyer says it's a good idea. Well, the lawyer is a bloodsucking leech, so like yeah, he agrees with you because there's money in it. Hammond is confronted by three different professionals who are like, dude, you don't have all the answers in this situation, and you not having the answers is dangerous. You claiming to have all the answers, in reality, not having them is dangerous to others. People die in this movie because of Hammond's arrogance. And I think a good correlation would be a lot of people are harmed by individuals who say with absolute assurity, they make these statements and have authority, they claim to have authority in situations. There is no logical, rational reason they could have the amount of assurance they claim to have. It's you comparing Jurassic Park to a megachurch, Leah, is perfection. It's the most accurate thing. That blindness to like your own humanity, your own hubris is so prevalent. Like it's sickening how prevalent it is. So I love the correlation of it to a megachurch.
And one of my criteria for bad theology, which relates to that, is not having the ability to critique or to challenge certain ideas, which you see very, very prevalent in a megachurch, but also you see it in Jurassic Park. You have these people who are these scientists who he has brought on because he wants them to be impressed by the spectacle. And instead, they are impressed, as I would be walking into a big church like that. But then I would start to say, well, what about her? He doesn't like that. He doesn't want the critique. He wants there to be unconditional positive regard from these scientists because they've been wooed by these big dinosaurs, and he can't handle it. And they just keep, which is a cute as a baby.
Yeah, my cat decided she wants to be an unknown variable right now.
That's fine.
That is her prerogative.
That is good theology. But yeah, so I think it is one of those things where they can't. That's part of the bad theology thing, is if you can't withstand any kind of critique of your ideas, and Hammond just can't. Like, he really can't.
No.
I think there's a reason why he brings the kids.
Anytime a red flag
because
shows
I think
up, he dismisses it.
Yeah, he's like, this is fine. I mean, those are I think they're his grandkids, right? They're his own kids. That's how confident he is, or his own kids' kids. That's how confident he is in himself. And I also think he wants the awe and wonder. That's also what he wants from the scientists. He just doesn't get it, because they go here like 2-second awe and wonder, and then they're into what is happening. What have you done?
So I know we focused a lot on how Hammond is a negative example in this. I want to bring in Malcolm for this kind of final line of thought and discussion, because he points out to Hammond that his team has done this work. They've created miracles, and they earn the knowledge they're using. Hammond, again, dismisses that. And that's where we get the line from Malcolm of like, you never stopped and asked why. Like, why are we doing this? Why should we do this? Also in the counter of why shouldn't we do this? So that's like, that is a good baseline for the entire film. But by playing God without humility or even a shred of foresight of how this could go wrong, they end up creating monsters instead of miracles. Hammond is projecting to other people, like, we're creating this miracle of bringing back these species. You created theme park monsters. How do we tell the difference between good innovation and dangerous God complex?
Yeah. I think it's the same as, I mean, again, if I tie it into, I think I had this in the back of my mind when I was creating the criteria. for bad theology, which is if you are not willing, if you separate yourself, which I find it interesting, they're on an island in the middle of nowhere. You separate yourself and then you surround yourself with yes people. You don't listen to critique. You think you have arrogance that makes you think that your idea is the only idea. You create an us versus them, which is, I think we see very clearly with the scientist Hammond is that he's like, if you're not with me, you're kind of against me, sort of thing. Even though they're really trying to give him honest feedback about why this is a bad idea.
Right.
And he's just not hearing it. And I think even with innovation, you have that. If you have a group of people who are like, we are creating this thing, and they are not willing to listen to other people who have differing opinions or, they isolate themselves. I think money as well, that helps him to be able to
Oh,
isolate himself. And I think
yeah.
when you add that in, like he doesn't really need them to buy in. He's not pitching it. It's
No,
already
he's
done.
doing this and he wants like some scientific, like, I guess, he wants the
Like a
Oprah,
blurb.
he wants the Oprah book club stamp on it.
He
The
wants it.
book's coming out regardless.
Oh yeah, yeah. And so I think that adds a whole other level of danger, which is you see this a lot with cults that I've written about previously. A lot of times people ask, like, if I use specifically Jonestown, with Jim Jones, they're like, how did he get away with it? He had money. He was swindling money from his parishioners. And what did he do? He didn't move him to an island, but he moved him away from everyone they loved.
Yeah.
And so I think it is one of those things where you can see this pattern that operates for these people who have God complexes who create damaging results is, yeah, a lot of them have money, a lot of them isolate, a lot of them don't reflect, they don't listen to criticism. They create us versus them so that you almost can't get out.
Yeah.
The people who've really bought into Jurassic Park have really bought in,
Yeah.
and they're not going to hear anything outside of that because they've committed their lives to it.
Hammond doesn't want them there for accountability. He wants them there for compliance.
No.
Like they are
Yes.
there to make his they are there to make his dream come true. Not for any of their own things. And I know, like, this is, again, we're talking about Richard Attenborough, like an actor who is like inherently like Santa Claus-esque,
I know.
like but that also
That's
kind of speaks
disconcerting.
to
I
another
mean,
thing of like, he is not the normal cut of what a villain in this type of movie would be, because he's projecting this sense of wonderment, this miracle that he's giving to the world. And it is a dangerous form of narcissism that he can play God and that there aren't going to be consequences, that you could have such a lofty goal, a dangerous devotion to this dream you have, and that nothing's going to happen. Like no bad ramifications, consequences are going to happen, and that you aren't going to be put on the line for that. Like, Hammond gets off so easy. In the grand scheme of the franchise, Leah, Hammond gets off so easy.
Yep.
Like, in the beginning of Lost World, he's just like...
God grant me the confidence of a mediocre white man with money.
Oh my gosh, like...
he gets off very easily. I mean...
like, yeah, it's ridiculous.
People are dying. And that's the thing, is he's throwing people under... these people that he's convinced, and then, again, goes back to the bad theology. I talk about the Nazi Party at one stage, and they just said we were just following orders, that sort of thing. They used in the Nuremberg trials. We were just following orders, right? Well, these people who are leading you oftentimes don't have consequences, and you may be just following orders, but you are going to suffer very heavily if you do not question what is happening. And that's what happens is, oh my gosh, the rich guy, I don't remember what happens to him in the end. Does he sail away on a helicopter?
At the beginning of Lost World, Ian goes to meet him, and he's still on the grind. Like, he's still trying to make this thing happen, and eventually he just kind of dies. Like, there's no big, like, in the book, he does die in the first installment. Like, in Crichton's book, he does die in Jurassic Park. and he dies in a fitting, dare I say, poetic way. But no, he does not have to face the consequences of this dangerous mission he's on
But I think
at all.
I appreciate Spielberg's choice there. I think because I think that's more akin to what happens is that he lives
Couldn't agree more.
all these all these people die. He doesn't get any consequences. And he just peacefully probably dies. If I remember, he's in a very rich looking building and he fades out. And it's like, so he unleashed Pandora's box, as you said before. And he had ego and hubris. And then all the rest of us, 75 films later, are here picking up the pieces of what this person created. And that's more akin, I think, to reality.
Right.
I would really have loved if a bunch of people hadn't read Revelation and suddenly started writing a whole bunch of books about how the world was going to end because we'd have a lot less cults. It would be a lot nicer. But you know what they did?
Good grief.
They just died. They died. And those books and we're still picking up the pieces. And I think that's what Jurassic is. And so I think it's fitting. He just fades out.
Yeah, it's a dangerous dream that has dangerous consequences. And in true real world equivalency, he doesn't really have to deal with it to the level that someone like Sam Neill's character, like Laura Dern's character, like Malcolm goes back to the island twice. Like, well, I know one of them is Isla Nublar, one of them is Isla Sorna, but he has to deal with this multiple times. And God forbid if we talk about how the Jurassic World movies continue this. It's a dangerous dream that someone is always waiting to pick up the ball on.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's the thing is people keep talking, and then I wanted to write another book, and they're like, "Oh, well, this will be in your bad theology series," and I'm like, I can't just keep writing these books, and they're like, "Yes, you can." This is my publisher. Yes, you can because there'll always be another thing, and I'm like,
there will always be another thing.
Oh my gosh, there'll be like the last one was COVID, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm glad we got through that. Oh, well, here's another thing. How about Christian nationalism? So I think it's just, that's what they want the next one to be. And I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah.
It's our burden to deal with after. And I had my question watching it, other than just intense ego and like a desire to, what do you think was his, like, I always look at the motivations of religious leaders when they do like terrible things. What do you think was his actual motivation? Was it money? Was it hubris?
So, in my opinion, I look to the scene that Hammond has with Sattler at the end of the movie, right before the action of the third act picks up. Because, well, first of all, Laura Dern and Richard Attenborough play the scene so beautifully. But he equates Jurassic Park to being like the culmination of his long career of going from running flea circuses, on the streets now. And this is his crowning achievement. And Laura Dern says, no, this is just a larger flea circus. Like you're still grifting people. You're still on the, you're on the take for these people's money. And you want to cloud it in this like grand sense of purpose. But that's part of the pitch. You being this like wonders and miracles, like that's part of the pitch. And I think that. You think it's about something bigger than that, but I love that Sattler calls him on it. Like I love Laura Dern in this movie. Like I think she's amazing. I mean, but I think
he's just,
come on. She digs through about a ton of Triceratops shit at one point, and she's just like, whatever.
David Lynch loved her, and though that means I love her, so no notes on that.
But I love that she's like, no, you want it to be about something else, but deep down it's not. And I think that's why he does it, is because he's always trying to elevate. He's always trying to do more. He's always trying to get more. He's always trying to have more. And if it comes in the guise of wonder and miracles, it doesn't matter that it's actually harmful monsters being created, including himself.
Right. So if he can create a legacy that presents as philanthropic, but really it's just about him having his name on something. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I would interpret him as a character.
Oh.
But, Leah, do you have any other thoughts on Jurassic Park? Because I know this is a film we could reinterrogate so many different ways. We barely talked about Alan Grant. Barely talked about the dinosaurs. Like, it's all sorts of different things we could reapproach
There's
Jurassic Park with.
dinosaurs? What do you
I've heard
mean?
a rumor that there are, I think we mentioned
There
the
are
T-Rex a few
dinosaurs?
times.
The T-Rex, who somehow makes it to Manhattan at some stage, I believe. Um,
San
my
Diego.
final thought
Makes it to San Diego.
San Diego. My bad.
Yes.
Sorry. He makes
Dinosaurs Take
they
Manhattan would be an amazing movie.
I got it confused with Jason. Jason went to Manhattan.
Yes.
They make it to the shore somehow. Final thoughts. I mean, I think it's a movie that lives forever as an example of stuff that I write about. That's why I think I was messaging you and I said, we could do a full thing of this if we wanted to
And
do
you were
it
right.
at
Totally right.
beer camp. If we want to do this at beer camp, I think like we could do something, an extended version. Because there's give us the big rig. Yeah, we'll just get some people at the Cornell West just to find his opinion on dinosaurs. Would be amazing.
Would that not be amazing?
Be like, wait, what are we doing? I would be like, this
You
is
want me
what
to
we're
do
doing.
what?
We're doing dinosaurs. You'd be like, okay. So no, I think there's so much more that we could. God, yes, we haven't even dug into some of the stuff, but I think at the end of the day, the movie is so important, and it did so much. Like, it didn't just look amazing. This is 93 and it looked amazing for
It's
even
gorgeous.
now
It's a gorgeous movie.
when you watch it. Like, whenever at the end when it says when dinosaurs ruled the earth and it's like this banner that like trickles down while the T-Rex is like screaming or something. I mean, it still is so Spielberg.
Yeah.
It's so good looking. But then also the scenes, like the kids in the kitchen. We didn't even talk about the Jell-O shake. All of it. That scene is terrifying, by the way. That's a real.
We barely talked about the horror elements of this movie.
Which is a lot. Freaking the Velociraptors. Why? As soon as they were like, that's what's his face is it a Velociraptor trainer in the new ones? I'm like, you picked that one?
Chris Pratt. It's like, no, dude, you're doing the same thing Hammond did. You're playing with a unknown variable.
Right. That's like doing the little rattly guy. Like, don't do hit. Get some of the little, like the leafy eater ones and do that.
Yeah. The Teen Titanic guys.
Yeah, do those. But anyway, so I think it was so scary as a kid. It looked great. It was something we'd never seen before. I think that's one of the things is like Spielberg in a way is Hammond, and I wonder if there's some parallels there because he's showing you something you've never seen, and I think there is a desire there to do that. And we were all amazed. We were in it, and I would love to talk to a single person that if you only show them the first half of the film wouldn't want to go to Jurassic Park. Like, would you pay money to go? I mean, if you only saw the first bit, maybe. I think it has a lot, and it has a lot to say for philosophy and theology as well. And again, our desire to, play God. And we've tried it before. Eugenics is a thing, and we've done it, and it's been hella destructive. So the fact we thought dinosaurs would work out is kind of interesting. We're good at learning.
An incredible
humans.
film.
Yeah, it's great.
We never met a bad idea we wouldn't try a few dozen times.
No.
So thanks for breaking down Jurassic Park with me, Leah. This has been one of those where I've been looking forward to, and it almost felt like a movie that was too big to do. Sometimes it's like, well, Jurassic Park is like, it's like a whole thing. And what's great about how we've kind of chosen to interact with a lot of these conversations, we choose a theme and we continue with it. So I'm glad we chose the God complex in this one. And I hope that people who interacted with it were able to get something out of this discussion, whether you leave it with an appreciation of, okay, well, maybe there are some things that we shouldn't touch, we shouldn't mess with. Or maybe you're one of those, it's like, you know what, I'm going to be like Hammond, but I'm going to do it the right way. I mean, how many people in human history have been like, yeah, I know they did the bad version of this, but I'm going to do it because I'm going to do it better because, well, it's me. There's so many different things we could parallel with that, but thank you for this conversation, friend. I loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. Till next time.
Boy, howdy.